Okay, so good evening, everyone. Welcome to Yin. I'm Trish, and tonight we are going to be working on a lower body release, but we are going to start off with a little bit of neck and lower back. So before we start, always just make sure that you're working at your own level, listening to your own body and taking the variations that feel right for you. If at any time anything doesn't feel good, come out of the pose. Okay, so tonight we'll be needing all our props, 2 tennis balls, have your blocks close by, possibly a bolster and possibly a rolled up blanket as well, depending on your body. So just have all the props close to hand so that they're easily accessible. All right, so to start, we're just going to bring our hands to the back of the head, and I just want you to feel into your head and then just feel under the, you should feel like a little ridge there, and then just stick your thumbs in there and just give yourself a little massage. So you should find a spot that kind of feels quite nice and feels like you want to release the head. And then from that spot, having the thumbs there, maybe you can just start to lengthen up through the neck, roll your chin towards the throat, and just put a little bit of pressure on your thumbs, and then just feeling that and pull your thumbs upwards towards the crown of your head. So you should feel that feels quite nice, like a massage. So just at the back, so I just want you guys to feel the spot that we want to get the block onto. So it's just with the thumbs, and then just feeling that little ridge underneath the head, because we are doing this online. So if we're in a person, then sometimes I could come around and adjust the block, but tonight, because we're doing it online, so I just want you to make sure you've got the block at the right spot. So once you found that little spot that goes, oh, that kind of feels nice, that's where we're going to grab our block, and that's where we're going to relax on. At the same time, we're going to grab 2 tennis balls to put onto our lower back. So have everything very close. And then we are going to bring our block on its middle end. So this is the lowest end, this is the middle, and this is the highest. So bring it onto the middle end. And then from here, we're going to sit down onto our hips and bring the knees together, feet to the edges of the mat. So this way we've got a little bit more space through the lower back as the tops of your thighs roll in towards each other. Okay, make sure that the back of your neck is free. If you've got hair in a bun or a ponytail, maybe just slide it up or to the side a little bit. And then from here, we're going to start to roll the tailbone under, hug your belly into the spine, and slowly roll yourself down onto your mat. Now from here, keep your chin tucked in towards your throat, and you want to get the edge of your block onto that same spot that we were just pressing with our thumbs. So it should feel quite nice, and it's feel like you're giving a little bit of length through the back of your neck. So make sure that your chin is rolled in towards your throat, that you're not kind of arching back like this and your head's to the sky. So we want to really lengthen out and roll the chin in. So you should feel the back of the neck quite supported. And then widen your shoulders, slide your shoulders down away from the ears, bring your hands by your hips. So from here, if you want, you can just extend the legs, and we're just going to hang out here for a couple of minutes and just taking our time just to come into the body and into the breath. And so just closing down the eyes, bringing the tip of your tongue to the roof of the mouth just behind the 2 front teeth. And starting to deepen the breath. So starting to take some really nice, deep, expansive breaths. And drawing that breath all the way down into your hips, into your belly. Feeling the belly expanding like a balloon. The belly just starting to fill the full capacity of your lungs from the bottom, middle, top, front, side, and back. Breathing into the heart. Maybe another breath into the throat. As you exhale, just softening from the hips, softening up through the abdomen, through the chest and the shoulders. Feeling everything heavy, just starting to melt down into the earth. And you imagine that the mat is just rising up to meet you and hold you. Shoulders softening up through the neck and throat. And clenching the jaw, softening through your cheeks, through the eyes, just feeling the eyes heavy in the sockets. Softening through your eyebrow center, and keeping the tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth behind the 2 front teeth. Just deepening the breath, nice deep body breaths. With every inhalation, just flooding the body with fresh oxygen and energy. As you exhale, just continuing to soften and release. Let go of the day, letting go of any tension, letting go of any thoughts, and just putting aside this next little while for yourself in the practice. And breathing into the back of the neck, and then from here, keeping the chin tucked in towards the throat, very slowly, like you're moving underwater, we're just very slowly going to start to roll the head to one side. And so we're just using the edge of the block to give us a nice little massage. The top of the neck, like we were doing with our thumbs earlier. And the eyes closed, and really bringing the focus into your own body a little bit deeper. And as we do these side to side, very slow movements, and we're starting to incorporate a very gentle little nod of the head up and down at the same time. And just notice if it starts to release, and maybe starting to roll the shoulders a little bit further down away from the ears. You can bring the hands up to the sides, above the hips, whatever's comfortable. Keeping the breath deep and flowing. And maybe opening, closing the mouth if you tend to hold a lot of tension around the jaw. Release. And just really tuning into your body and ready to show you how it move to release. And with a very, very subtle, gentle little movements. Just softening and deepening the breath. And from here, if your legs are straight, we're going to start to bend the knees and come back into our first position with the knees together, feet to the edges of the mat. Bring your head back to center, and here we want to grab our two tennis balls. So to stay in your pose, I'm going to come up just to show you where the tennis balls are going to go on your back, but I want you to stay with the block underneath your head. And so keeping the block there, you're going to roll to them and bring the tennis balls either onto your lower back. So you can bring them to the, make sure that the tennis balls are symmetrical because it's going to feel a lot nicer. So they can be at the base of your spine, or maybe a little bit lower down towards the sacrum, or maybe even out to the sides towards your glutes. Okay, so make sure it's not actually on the spine itself. You don't want it to be on the actual bone, but they're on either side. And so from here, we're just going to gently roll to one side, grab the tennis ball, and then pop it under, and then the other one. So you might want to adjust yourself a little bit and then get those balls in the right place. Once you've got the balls in the right place, you might, if you find that your spine's lengthened a little bit, you might just want to adjust your block a little bit as well. And so now we're getting that opening and lengthening out through the spine, maybe creating a little bit more space in between those links at the top and the bottom. And then just softening down. And then if you want, just keeping the hips where they are. And then very, very slowly, once again, as if we're moving underwater, you might want to just very gently sway the knees from side to side, just to get a little bit of movement and release in the back. So just listening to your body, do what feels good. Sometimes if you happen to sit for long periods of time during the day, you might find that it might feel nicer on the lower back, the L4 or L5. Otherwise, it might feel nicer a little bit wider out to the sides, glutes. Just keep breathing into it. So wherever you feel, if you feel a tight area, try not to hold onto the tension. Just breathing into that space. And as you exhale, just sending a message from the mind to the body, just to soften and release. Keep melting the shoulders down away from the ears. Widening out across the collarbones. Okay, and then when you're ready, just gently bring it back to center. From here, I'm just going to tuck the chin in and then slowly release the block. Keep that length through the back of your neck. So once again, if you've got any hair there, slide it up so you can have that really nice straight back, and then just gently roll to one side, remove the tennis ball, and then roll to the other side, remove the other ball. And then from here, you might just make sure that the back of the neck is long, shoulders are relaxed. You might just want to hug the knees into the chest and gently rock from side to side. And just releasing, circling the knees a few times in one direction, back the other way. And when you're ready, just extend the legs out. Let's take a few nice deep breaths here in Shavasana. Bring the body back into a neutral position. Can I just get you to mute? Can I just get you to mute your audio, please? Sorry, guys. And then from here, so just keeping the eyes closed and just tuning into the body, noticing any subtle changes. Keeping the spine nice and straight, maybe just gently turning the head from one side to the other if you need to mobilize the neck. Just breathing into the body and just allowing everything to come back into neutral. And when you're ready, very slowly start to bring some movement back in. Wriggling fingers and toes, maybe circling with some ankles in one direction, back the other way. And when you're ready, maybe stretching out, bringing the hands above the head, doing whatever feels good. You might want to stretch out, point and flex the feet, or you might want to hug the knees back into the chest and rock yourself from side to side. And so once again, we just want to maintain that length through the back of the neck that we have created, circling the knees in one direction, back the other way, and then just taking the knees apart. Circle the knees in opposite directions now. So we are mobilizing the hips. So when we circle the knees together, we're feeling that release the lower back. And now when we circle the knees in opposite directions, we're feeling that mobilization through the hips. And if you like, you can just bring your feet together and then maybe circle your feet, and you're mobilizing your knees. Okay, and then from here, once you have done all of those, and you might just want to circle the ankles as well. All right, just give a little shake out. All right, so I'm going to do the same side as you guys tonight, so meaning that I will not mirror my cues. So we're going to bend the left knee, and we're going to take the right leg up towards the sky. And then from here, we're going to flex the foot, start to squeeze your glutes, widening out across that hip crease, and then starting to wind that leg out. So we're opening that hip, bending that knee, and keep winding it outwards. So you're winding that calf outwards, and then come into a number 4 with your legs. Okay, from here, just breathing into that right hip. Grab your tennis ball. We're just going to do a little bit of release through our glutes here. So before, you might have had the ball on the inside, and then from here you can either keep it there, or maybe you can even just bring it out to the side. Ooh, and then when you find the tight areas, it will feel painful but good. So we never want to have any sharp shooting pain, but sometimes if your muscles are feeling a little bit tight, it might be a little bit sore. So make sure you're differentiating between the good pain and the not good pains. So it's kind of like a dull kind of ooh, then that's kind of the pain that we are needing to feel to get that release. So it's kind of like getting a massage, and when your therapist kind of digs the elbow into the tight knots. And so just breathing into it. And so once again, if you feel it's very tight, try not to hold on to the tension, keep the breath flowing. Which one can you please move? And then maybe some gentle rocking or swaying motions. And just keeping that hip crease really nice and wide as well. So we're also opening the hip at the same time, so that knee's sort of away from the body. Just breathing into it. If you've released one spot, you might just want to roll a little bit to another. And staying in your shape. So I'm just going to move my cat out of the way. And keep deepening the breath. So you're holding tension through your face, your jaw, eyebrow center. Holding tension with the shoulders, try to soften and release. Keeping the breath flowing. All right, and take another couple of breaths here. And soften as much as you can for this last few. All right, you're ready. Let's gently release. So rolling towards the left, remove your tennis ball. And then from here, we're just going to come back down and we're just going to draw the knees from side to side. And then we're going to make our way into a pigeon, but in a more somatic way, like we did the other week. Okay, so once you've rocked from side to side and twisted a little bit, so you might feel a little stretch when we do that. And when you bring your knees to the opposite side, just gently roll onto your side. So rolling onto the right and then coming up. And then from here, we can just bring that knee a little bit wider out. And then coming into our pigeon pose. So from here, we've got that knee out. And then if you like, you can keep your other knee slightly bent. Otherwise, you can straighten the other leg back behind you. And then from here, just keep widening out through that hip and then just gently rock yourself from side to side. And feeling into it. So you should feel a little stretch through the glutes here, but we're not getting that really deep stretch just yet. We will come into more mounty pigeon shortly, but from here, we just want to get a little bit of a somatic release. Maybe just changing the angle as well. So you might just move the hands a little bit further across. If you're a little bit further across towards the right, you might just want to keep the belly hugging into the spine. And then from here, you can either stay with the heel close in towards the groin. Otherwise, if you've got a little bit more flexibility that's open to you, you can maybe just bring the shin, the heel a little bit further forward so that your shin is in line with the mat. So option one is just to continue with that sort of somatic movement. If you're still feeling it's a little bit tight as you come down, so you might just want to start to gently come a little bit lower down and then melt. Otherwise, if you're feeling like you just want to melt down, and you're feeling it like you're quite high off the mat, feel free to grab a block or a cushion to pop that underneath your right hip. Okay, so, and then we're going to hang out for 3 minutes. So find your option here because we have a little bit of time. So if you're finding it's a little bit tight, feel free just to gently rock yourself on the way down, or just that sort of, so we're not doing like full intense kind of rocking, but we're just very slowly exploring where it might be tight and just releasing through those areas. And perhaps that will enable us to melt that a little bit further. And then from here, you can either, when you're down, you can either maybe stack your fists, rest your forehead onto your fists, or you can maybe rest your forehead onto the block, or you can maybe rest your forehead down onto the mat, onto your hands. And so we should feel a really nice stretch here. So once you make your way down, you should feel that nice stretch through the glutes where we have just rolled. Just breathing into it. That's coming into your Brahman breath. So starting to use the vibration of sound to release the tight particles. So as you inhale, breathing into those tight areas. And as you exhale, maybe making a humming sound. And feeling that vibration in the body. And so that hum can be loud or it can be very soft and maybe even inaudible, but it's just to try to feel that vibration. And you start to feel that vibration in your body. Bring it deeper into those tight areas. So it's a little bit tight in the hip, maybe bringing that sound around to the hip or maybe into the glutes. Gentle rocking might feel nice as well. So very subtle movements, almost like you're moving underwater. It's like we're trying to clean the fascia and make it glide. Sometimes the fascia of the connective tissue in the body starts to get a little bit stuck, and sometimes when we feel tight in an area, it's not necessarily the muscles that are tight, sometimes it's the fascia that's really tight. So, and fascia should be able to glide. So maybe just feeling that gliding motion in the body as well. Okay, let's take another couple of breaths here. And then when you're ready, let's start to lengthen up through the spine, walk the hands back in. And then from here, just tuck your back toes under, lift your back knee, and just sway the hips back and forth for a moment. Bring that back knee in and then just extend that right leg back into tabletop. Just stretch it out. Maybe you can circle the ankle a few times. One direction, back the other way. And then you might just want to walk the other leg out, check in with the body. Good evening, Catherine. And just feel one side compared to the other. Okay. And then we're going to bring that right knee forwards again this time and come back into our sort of like a pigeon variation. So you can have the back knee bent, or you can come into a deer variation. So we've still got that right knee out to the side. And then we're going to come and grab, or you can have that right leg, left leg straight. So whatever's more comfortable for you to sit. Okay, and our weight's on that right hip. Grab your tennis ball again, and this time we're going to start rolling through our ITB band. So this one is a little bit painful, but it's good for you. so from here, so we're going to feel, so there's a band in here, and we're going to start towards the glutes. So from here, we're just going to bring that ball in, and then start to bring your weight a little bit over it. And so we're just in this position just to try to get into get the ball onto the band. And once you have that, you can kind of just breathe into it. Your body will start to feel it. It will be kind of painful, but like a good painful. So, and then we're just going to gently rock from side to side. And so maybe just closing down your eyes and just really bring your awareness a little bit deeper into the body. And so we're starting from up near the hip. So if you want a little bit more, you can just bring your torso forwards and you can get a lot more weight onto it. So just depending on how tight it feels in your body, if you don't want that much weight on it, you can just come up onto your hands. So just really listening to how your body feels this evening. And then from there, we're going to start to roll that ball a little bit lower down. And once again, just really tune into your body. So we're just incorporating the gentle swaying or rocking motions. Keeping the breath flowing. Sometimes if you do feel like a little release, then if you need to at any time, just feel free to come out of the pose and shake the leg out if you need to, and then we can always come back into it. And gently rolling it a little bit further down. So you can either just roll yourself back and you can roll that ball further down towards the knee, or you can use your hand and manually move it down. And just keep the breath flowing. And once again, find the amount of weight and pressure that feels good for you. So tonight we're moving it downwards up towards the feet. So we started at the hip, and then we're progressively rolling that ball further down towards the knee. And your leg position can be however is comfortable. So it's that back knee, the left knee can be bent, or that leg can be straight. And you can come a little bit further forwards if that feels good for you. Keeping the breath deep and flowing. A little bit further down now towards the knee. So you can either just get the ball in that band and then just gently just sway from side to side. So sometimes if we're rolling at the gym, we might be quite vigorous where we're rolling like this. And if that feels good for you this evening, you can do that as well. Otherwise, sometimes if you want to just try to melt it and release it, because we're just going spot, 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 you can just kind of rock from side to side. So just find the option that works best for you. And swing that a little bit lower down towards the knee. Keeping the breath deep and flowing. And all the way down, so it's just above the knee. And when you're ready, we'll gently, if you're down on your hands or on your forehead, then gently start to bring yourself back up. And then from here, let's just gently release the ball. Bring your hands forwards and then just extend your legs back and then walk your legs out, either in tabletop or in down dog, whatever is more comfortable for you. And then just stretching out the legs, maybe just gently stretching the back, swaying the hips from side to side. Just check in with the body, notice how you're feeling, one side compared to the other. Right, and ready. Come back down onto your knees. And then from here, we're going to just have your bolster close by because you might need the bolster. Okay, and so you might just want to have the bolster long ways. That's just an option. And then so have it close to you in case you might need it. Okay, and then from here, we're going to extend so we're just going to practice this first. So let's come back up onto our knees. We'll start with the knees together. I want you to feel, so sometimes it's a bit easier with both sides. Bring your knees together and start to feel that winding inwards action of your thighs. So we're just feeling that internal rotation. And then as you wind it inwards, then you're feeling that continuation of the winding inwards, which means your calves are winding outwards. Okay, and then from there, I just want to feel that. Maybe bring your hands forwards and then maybe just come back a little bit. All right, so we've got that windy action. Now from here, I'm going to release and then we're going to bring your left leg out. And so from here, we're just doing the right side. So we had that windy action. So we're winding that right leg in, keep winding it inwards. So we're winding that calf out and we're sitting back with the knees as close in towards each other as is comfortable. And that foot, that heel is just sort of hugging your hip here. Okay, if this is still super uncomfortable, you can maybe just grab a rolled up blanket and pop that underneath the hips. Okay, and that will give you a little lift to the hips. Okay, if it's still super uncomfortable with the blanket, then, and you're just really feeling that stretch through that band that we have just been rolling. Feel free to stay there and maybe even just grab your block and you can just sit like this for a little bit, okay, until it releases a little bit more and it feels comfortable enough to come back down. Okay, so right now we're just using this as a nice little release for that ITB band. And if your leg's quite far out, maybe you can start to widen out through that hip crease so there's space in the hip socket as we start to wind it in. So ideally, in an ideal world, we'll get our knees together. Okay, so that's option one. So as long as you feel that stretch there, that is the main thing. Okay, so you can just hang out there. And then from here, if you want a little bit more, option two is just to grab that bolster, maybe bring it by your hip just to start. And then you can start to lift up and maybe come and bring yourself down onto the bolster. Okay, so that's option two. So you can kind of relax back a little bit. And that will just intensify that stretch. And option three is maybe just bring your hands behind you and then just lifting up through the back of your heart, come down onto your forearms. And then maybe lengthening up and then bring the crown of your head to the floor. When the crown of the head has touched the floor, we're going to start to roll the back of the neck down and come all the way down onto the mat. Okay, so find your option here. As long as you're feeling that stretch there is the main thing. And in our yin practice, we never want to push. We're not trying to push way past our point of comfort. So just do what is comfortable for you. Keep that right foot pointed as well, so you're on the top of your foot, so that foot's not flexed. Okay, so make sure that the foot's pointed. And as long as you feel that stretch there, so if you're sitting up and you want to intensify it and your knees are quite wide out, you can maybe just start to bring, as you start to release, start to bring the knees a little bit closer in, or focus on that winding action as you keep winding that thigh inwards and then you're winding that calf outwards. So you feel this sort of intense stretch on the ITB. You might feel a little bit on the knee. You'll feel it maybe even on the top of your foot if you're on a hard floor. So it is quite an intense pose, but it is quite good. At any time, if you need to, feel free to come out of the pose and release. And keep breathing into it. If you're all the way onto the mat, then your other leg, you can maybe just take it into the inner thigh and come into a butterfly leg with that left leg. Otherwise, if you like, maybe you can externally rotate and wind that left hip out, and then maybe taking hold of your toes with your right hand, and then you can maybe slide your other hand underneath and take hold of your other toes and just relax there. So coming into a half lotus with the other side, and then your hand should fit quite comfortably underneath that little the arch of your back. So we're just going to hang out here, just deepening the breath. Keep breathing into the body. Soften. Okay, ready? If you're bound, gently start to release your bind. And then if you've got your half lotus leg, we're just going to release that. And then from here, we're going to roll towards the left, release your right leg, extend it out and just give it a little shake out. From here, you can just give it a little massage down. You can be sitting up or you can be lying down, whatever's comfortable. Just give your leg a little rub down. So you will definitely feel it through that area we have just been stretching. That we have been rolling, so that's what we're stretching. And then sometimes you might feel it a little bit through the knees and sometimes on the tops of your feet. So wherever you're feeling it, just give it a little rub. If you're not familiar or used to this pose, it can be very intense. So maybe just take it once you've rubbed it out, just shake the legs out. And then let's come into Shavasana for a minute now. So we were sitting up just so if you want to give yourself a little massage so it's more accessible. And then when you're ready, just roll down onto your back. And come into Shavasana. So bring the whole body into neutral. If you need to tuck your tailbone under, lengthen the spine, relax the shoulders. And then maybe just pointing and flexing the feet, and then just taking some nice deep breaths here. Just breathing into the body. Checking in with how you're feeling. On one side compared to the other. Just allow the blood and energy to flow back down through that right leg as well. As we are giving a nice squeeze, and we're squeezing out through the stomach meridian as well. Stretching out through the stomach meridian on the front of that leg. So, as well as through the sides. So sometimes you might feel energy moving through other areas of your body, and if you do, it's normal. Just breathing into it. Allowing the blood and energy just to go back, restore. It's quite a deep squeeze as well, so sometimes as we squeeze, just like when you squeeze a hose in the garden, you're stopping the flow of water. So when you release, sometimes the water will just flow through. So sometimes you might just feel like a rush of energy moving through. If you're feeling that, just shake it out or just allow it to flow. Just tuning into the body. Okay, and then when you're ready, you can just gently start to bring the movement back in, wiggling fingers, wiggling toes. If you need another couple of moments there, take that time. And then maybe just stretching out, so just doing whatever feels good, maybe pointing, flexing the feet. Maybe your right leg feels a little bit longer than your left. And then hugging the knees back in towards the chest. Widening out across the hips. And just gently rocking yourself from side to side, massaging the spine. Maybe widening through the hips, and as you exhale, just hugging the knees and thighs a little bit closer in as we squeeze through the hip flexors. And then let's circle the knees a few times in one direction. So both knees together as we massage the back. And the other way. And then take the knees apart. So circling with knees as we mobilize the hips. And then back the other way. And maybe mobilizing the knees, so feet together and circling the feet. And back the other way. And circling the ankles. Right, and you're ready. Bring the feet back down. Inhale, exhale. Belly hugs in of the knees to one side. Inhale, exhale, second side. Wherever is comfortable. So maybe just drawing the head to the same side, opposite side, or you can stay looking at the sky. All right, and then coming back to center. Second side, let's grab our tennis ball. Let's bring the knees bent, starting with the knees bent. Take your left leg up to the sky. And then from here, widening through the hip crease and then starting to wind it outwards by squeezing, engaging the glutes and then winding the leg outwards. So you're winding, 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 winding out, and then you can bend the knee and keep that winding action as you keep opening that hip out. Okay, coming into our number 4. I'm just going to turn the other way so that you can see where the ball's going. And so from here, we'll grab our tennis ball and then just bring it underneath your glutes. Find the tight area or areas. I'll find one, and then starting to melt down onto it. And so from here, once we're in the position, you can just release the glutes. So you don't have to continually wind it. So the winding is to get you into the pose, but we want the glutes to be quite relaxed. So as we roll onto it, so that we can get a deeper release. And just keep breathing into it. Once you've found a tight area, maybe just gently swaying a little bit. And just try to soften the face, soften the shoulders. Just keeping our breath nice and deep and flowing. Drawing the breath and energy into those tight areas. As you inhale and as you exhale, just sending a message from the mind to the body just to soften and release. Release one area, just roll the ball into another spot. Checking in your body. And sometimes one side might be tighter than the other, depending on the way we carry ourselves during the day. And some days it might be tighter if you've done a lot of leg work or running or walking or anything that engages the legs too much. And some days it might be tighter than others. Take a few more breaths here. Ready, gently roll towards the right. We're going to release that wall and then release the leg. Inhale, and as we exhale, you can just draw the knees towards the right. So just a little stretch here, and then we just go back to center, other side. Inhale, exhale, and from here, I'm going to roll towards your left this time, and from your fetal position, gently support yourself to come up, and then just slide the right leg back a little bit. And we are coming into our pigeon here. So we'll come down once again in a more somatic way. So you can have your other knee bent, or you can bring the other leg straight. And then we're just widening out through the hip and then just gently rocking a little bit from side to side. And so once again, if it feels a little bit tight in the hips and the glutes, you can have your heel closer in towards the groin, or maybe bring the knee a little bit wider out. And so we will get a hip opening, but we're using this really as our stretch to release the glutes where we've just been rolling. And so we can do both. Just gently rocking from side to side, back and forth, circling. Just breathing into it. Gently releasing any tight areas. As you gently rock from side to side, just slowly starting to bring the chest further down. And so once again from here, we're going to spend a few minutes here. So you can maybe grab a cushion or a block and pop that underneath the hip of the left side. Otherwise, if you want a little bit more, you can maybe just slide your heel out a little bit more. If you've got your shin in line with the short end of the mat, maybe just you can push a little bit into the outer edge of your foot so the ankle is active. Otherwise, you can bring the foot closer in towards the groin, and maybe continue with your rocking and walking yourself down. Maybe coming onto your forearms and maybe stacking the fist, resting the forehead onto the fist or onto a block. And just breathing into the hips, breathing into the glutes. And so you can be using some somatic continuing to some somatic movements and gentle swaying motions to release or you could just be melted down and just using the breath to release. So just once again, really tuning into your body, just doing whatever feels right for you this evening. Maybe coming into your Brahman breath, so deep, expansive inhalations. And as you exhale, making a humming sound. And bringing that sound deep into your body, or into wherever you're feeling the stretch or the tension or tightness. And sometimes you can, if you want, you can put a cushion underneath your hip if that's more comfortable than a block, because that gives you a little bit of space depending on how high your hip is. Sometimes a block might feel a little bit more secure, but if you're melting below the melting and you feel that the block's in the way, sometimes a cushion might be a little bit more of a cozier option. So just what works for you. You all the way down. If you want to deepen the stretch, then it's really lengthening the belly button towards the mat. And squaring the hips, otherwise just allowing yourself to get that nice, so when we are in a somatic movement, doesn't really matter too much, like as long as, you know, everything feels good, you can, not that overly focused on the alignment, as long as we're not going to hurt ourselves. So you might be on an angle as well if you're still swaying a little bit. And we're working with a yin practice. It's not as strict as when we are doing our dynamic practice. Okay, let's take a few more nice, deep, beautiful breaths here, wherever you're at. And trying to soften and release as much as you can for these last few. And then when you're ready, slowly starting to ground back into the hands. Belly hugs into the spine. And then walking the hands back in. Tuck the back toes under, straighten the back leg. So if your knees out like this, straighten the back leg and then just sway the hips back and forth. And then from here, bring that right knee down and then slide your left leg back, stretch it out. And maybe just circling one direction, the way. Okay, and I'm going to bring that left leg forwards again. Slide the other knee back. Come into a deer position or a semi-pigeon. And we're going to get into that ITB band on the other side. So grab your tennis ball again. We start towards, so you can feel it, and you start towards the hip, and we're going to roll down towards the knee. So from here, just find that position, and then you can bring as much weight or as little weight as you like onto it. And then from here, just gently starting to release. Once again, just check in with the body. Sometimes we might feel way tighter on one side or more relaxed on the other. So just keep breathing into it and starting to release. Making our way down from the hip towards the knee. I did my legs yesterday, so my legs are very tired. So I'm feeling this, but hopefully you guys are getting a nice release. But it is can be a painful but good on this one. And so perhaps using some gentle motions. You can be more actively rolling if that feels good. Gently rolling the ball a little bit lower down towards the knee. Breathe. Softening the exhalation. And then bring that ball a little bit lower down. So it's at the top of the knee. Side of the knee, sorry. And just keeping the breath flowing. And all the way down to the other side, top of the knee. All right, when you're ready, let's gently come back up, release the ball, come back onto your hands and stretching the legs out and tabletop. Stretch that left arm and then just circling, some circles, the ankle in one direction, the other way. All right, when you're ready, I'm going to come into that Thunderbolt pose. So once again, find your options. So if it feels very, very tight, then you can just take your block and then maybe just sit on your block, and you can bring, go this way. You can sit on your block and just bring your right leg out and then bring that left knee in, rolling that thigh inwards, and then you're winding that knee inwards, and then you're winding the calf outwards as you bring that heel to hug your, and you can bend the other knee, like so depending on your body. Some people actually find it easier to come down with that knee bent. I find it extremely uncomfortable, and I always find it better to have my legs straight. So just check in with your body. You might find this is a easier option. Okay, otherwise, if option one, have your block or your blanket to sit on. Otherwise, I'll be sitting like this and getting the bum onto the floor, and I'm just taking some breaths there as you keep winding. So keep widening out through the hip crease, so there's space in that hip socket, and then you're winding that thigh in, and you're feeling that nice stretch through the RTB there. Okay, so we want to try to wind it in as much as we can, and winding this out so you're feeling that stretch through the top of your foot as well as through that band that we have been rolling. Okay, and from here you can stay there. Otherwise, you can maybe bring your bolster behind you and then just relax onto your bolster. So sometimes that is quite a nice option. So you can have that bolster there, and then you're just coming onto the bolster. Otherwise, if you want a little bit of a deeper stretch, and so try to get that heel closer in towards the bum. So down, if your foot's kind of out here, yep. So maybe just sit up and see if you can just keep bringing that heel in towards the bum and winding it outwards. So you'll feel that lengthening through the top of your foot as well. Okay, and then so if you're feeling quite a deep stretch here, then just take your time and then maybe just rest onto the hands. Okay, think about that winding action. So it's not about how low we can come, but we really want to feel that through here. Okay, and then take your time to melt yourself down. Okay, so listen to your body and find the stretch that works best for you. So you can have your bolster behind you. And so I do a lot of yoga, and so I do this a lot. So so for me to get a little bit of a deeper stretch, I need to come all the way, like I want to come all the way down. But if you don't do this pose a lot, then if you're already feeling it here and there's a pulling there, then think about just winding that inwards and just breathing into it as you start to release a little bit more. And as you start to release, you can maybe melt a little bit lower down onto your bolster and keep that windy action, and then maybe coming all the way down. So take the option and melt into it, and then you can open that knee to the side. So in a half butterfly with the arms above the head, or maybe have that heel all the way in, knees together, and maybe binding in with your half lotus. So find the option that works for your body this evening. Yeah, well, Diane, just that foot by the thigh rather than in a half lotus. So that come this way. So if I'm facing you, that leg would just be like that. Yeah, so it's a lot more comfortable that way. And Sheila, if that leg is straight and it's good, otherwise you can just bend that knee if that's more comfortable. So that right knee, whatever is good. I personally find that it's more comfortable for me with that right leg to come into the shape with that right leg straight. So, and then once you have released, then melting down a little bit further. And so just melt into your pose. And it's really breathing into that band. All right, when you're ready, if you're bound, then gently release your bind, rolling onto your right side, release the leg. And from here, give it a little shake out, give it a little rub down. So if you need to, if you're sitting up, feel free to just give it a little rub and a little shake or whatever feels good. And then when you're ready, you can slowly relax yourself back down into Shavasana, and we'll just come back into our neutral position. We're just breathing into the body. Noticing any subtle changes. So I had that for a little while. So sometimes you might feel that once again, that releases, we release that bind along the knee. You might just feel blood or energy rushing down. If you do, you might want to just move the legs or the feet, and just breathing into it. Keeping the breath flowing, just observing the energy, keeping the back of the neck long as well, shoulders are relaxed. And your nice, full, deep body breath, your full yogic breath, all the way from the belly, from the hips and the belly to the collarbones. Maybe starting to draw that breath all the way down through your legs, from your hips down through your legs, into the feet. Maybe feeling that the breath can travel a little bit more freely down through the legs. And when you're ready, we'll slowly bring some movement back in, wiggling fingers and toes. Circling some ankles, one way, other way, and figure eight, and the other way. All right. You'll be stretching out or having the knees in, maybe pointing and flexing the feet. So just get some little movement back into your body. And the knees into the chest and rocking from side to side. Or maybe circling the knees in one direction and back the other way. Okay, from here, bring your feet back to the ground, hug your belly in, and then just gently twisting, belly hugs in, and just a mobilizing twist. And then when you're ready, let's roll onto our side. Come back up into tabletop or down dog just to walk the legs out. Just stretch the legs out, and I'm just breathing into the side. And so have a play with it in your body. So because we were rolling that band, right? Sometimes it's nicer when you can come into a position where you can fully straighten the legs. So if you're very comfortable in down dog and can get the legs straight without the weight coming forwards, then down dog might be a nicer option because you're getting a deep stretch. But otherwise, if your down dog is with your knees bent and it's hard to get the legs straight, you might get actually a better release in tabletop because you can straighten that leg out entirely so that you can really feel that band starting to open. But you might feel it a nice stretching down dog as well. So just really listen to your body and just take the option that is best for you. Okay, from here, let's come back onto our knees. And I'm going to give you guys an option to start with a little bit more weight. If it's too uncomfortable, then you can always come onto your back. All right, so we're going to grab 2 tennis balls now, and we're going to roll through our calves. So we're going to come up, and option 1 is a little bit more intense. So if it's not good, come out of it, and then I'll give the second option, but hopefully this is going to be okay. So we're going to slide the tennis balls all the way into the back of your knee. Now, if the tops of your feet are a bit tight, so if you can't flatten the tops of your feet in tabletop, then grab a blanket possibly, and you might want to just roll up that blanket and pop it underneath the tops of your feet. Okay, so that just gives you a little bit more support. So just under the ankle. Okay, so you hopefully should feel quite supported. Knees are hip width apart, and then from here we come forwards and we want to slide those tennis balls just to the back of the knee. Okay, so we feel a squeeze here. And then from here, we're going to gently come down and bring your hands down. You can bring your forehead down. So like we're in child's pose. And then we're starting to sway the hips side to side. And just keep everything really relaxed. So make sure you're not like contracting and squeezing your glutes or squeezing your calves or your hamstrings, because we want everything to be relaxed. And just breathing into it, and then just gently rocking from side to side. As you rock from side to side, perhaps starting to melt the bum back towards the heels. You just use the breath to soften, or you might do some gentle rocking motions. So just really listening to your body, honoring wherever your body is at this evening. And so if you have tight calves, this is a good thing to do regularly. Okay, when you're ready, push into your hands and then just roll yourself forwards back into tabletop. From here, we're going to take those tennis balls, we're going to roll them down a little bit to the next point in your calf. And then from here, option 1 is just to bring your weight forward so there's less weight onto it. Otherwise, option 2 is maybe coming up a little bit higher, and that therefore the more that our body, so if you want a lot of weight, then you keep your core active, but you keep your glutes really soft as you bring more weight onto it. Okay, otherwise, if this is super intense, then bring your weight forward slightly so that your chest is in front and there's not as much weight onto it. So find the option that feels good for you. And then if you're coming up a little bit, you have the option to add a wrist stretch here. So you can maybe just bring the hands forwards and then turn the palms facing up, spread the fingers wide and keep the shoulders relaxed. And then maybe just gently rocking from side to side. So stretching the wrists as well. So fingers pointing towards the belly. Yep. And try to keep the elbows relatively straight. So if sometimes we bend out like this, you might not feel the stretch as much. So keep the, yep, without locking them out. And changing the angle of your wrists as well. So fingers pointing in towards each other. Still rocking and swaying from side to side. And then maybe changing the angle of your wrists, fingers pointing outwards. Okay, release it, shake the wrists out. Maybe circle the wrists in one direction, other way, figure 8, and then come back up. So keep the core a little bit engaged and roll up, and then roll the balls down a little bit further. And then find the next spot. And check in with the body. You can bring the knees together now and the toes feet together if it's more comfortable for you. And then coming back down. So this time you can just once again find your option. You can be further forward so that there's less weight onto the tennis balls if it's super intense. Otherwise, if you're a little bit higher up, maybe you can't And if you want to incorporate a wrist stretch here, maybe we just turn the palms, keep the palms facing down this time and bring the fingers in towards you. And then as you exhale, start to bend into your elbows. So feeling that stretch through the insides of your wrists and gently rocking from side to side. Keeping the breath deep and flowing. And so if the wrist stretch is too intense, so you can bring the fingers closer in as well. So this is the option if your chest is up. And then you can maybe just keep one wrist on the ground, and you can just stretch like one palm by taking that one up so that we are a little bit more balanced, because sometimes it's hard to hold the tennis balls in the right position. And this wrist stretch is just an option. So when you're listening to your body, so we can come up and stretch the palm, and then maybe stretch the fingers, pull the thumbs back. Right, and from here, just shoot them out. And then maybe twinkle stars, circling one direction, other way, figure eight, other way. And shake it out, and then coming back up, and then let's roll it all the way down. So now we are sort of on the Achilles and melting back. And once again, find your options. So if you like, you can be a little bit further forward, so there's less weight. Otherwise, maybe coming up. That feels okay. And then just closing down the eyes and just breathing into it. All right, when you're ready, gently bring your weight forwards, release the balls, and then bring your hands forwards, and then just extend the heel out and come into tabletop, walk your legs out. So really stretching out through the calves, opening up through the sole of your foot as well. And so maybe just staying in tabletop. Otherwise, maybe if it's comfortable to straighten your legs in down dog, you can come into down dog and maybe lift your toes off the floor so that you feel that stretch through your calf. Swaying the hips from side to side. All right, and when you're ready, let's make our way back down. We're going to finish up with legs against the wall or legs to the sky. So if you have a wall, you can go up towards your wall. I don't have a wall in shots, so I'm just going to do legs towards the sky. Now I'm going to get you to imagine that this bolster here is a wall. Okay, so if you have a wall, you're going to bring your bum right next to the wall. So you're sitting, so imagine that this is a wall next to me, and you can sit right next to the wall. Okay, and then from here, you kind of swivel across. So imagine that's the wall, and you swivel across and you bring your heels onto the wall. So you have support there, okay? Otherwise, if you don't have a wall next to you, then you can go feet to the sky like me and just bring the feet up towards the sky. So find your option here. And then you can maybe just pull the toes back towards you. Yep, so if you do have a wall, I recommend that you go to the wall because it's very relaxing. It's a very relaxing shape if you have a wall. It's actually quite relaxing here as well, but it's even more relaxing if you have a wall, because then you can just let your heels rest onto the wall. So if it's feeling a little bit tight in your hamstrings, you can bend the knees a little bit, or even slide your bum a little bit away from the wall. Otherwise, if your wall is, if that's the wall, so imagine that's a straight wall, you can just walk yourself in and get a nice opening here. Okay, so just relaxing here and breathing into it. Hands wherever's comfortable. Hands can be by the hips, maybe up by the shoulders or above the head. If you're finding that your feet are feeling like they're falling asleep, you can maybe just gently point and flex the feet, maybe extending out through the two inner corners. Bring your feet together, extend up through the two inner corners and pull the four outer corners back towards you. As we open up through the soles of the feet, maybe feeling the energy centers on the soles of the feet opening. So feeling all the blood and energy coming from the soles of the feet and flowing through the legs and back towards the heart. And stay here if you like. You can let the legs fall open into a straddle. So if your legs are against the wall, just let the heels fall out to the sides. And widening through the hips and just getting a nice little stretch on the inner thighs. All right, and when you're ready, you can bring the feet back in, and then from here, bend the knees, hug your knees back in towards the chest. Gently rock from side to side, and then just stay where you're at. And then if you are right next to the wall, just sort of swivel yourself around and then relax yourself down into Shavasana. And we'll just come into Shavasana. Otherwise, if you're on the floor, you can, and just relax where you're at, and we'll stay in Shavasana for a couple of minutes. And just allow, so don't need to move too much. Oh, guys, so after, so really keep the body relaxed as we come down. Yeah, and then just allow everything just to settle. So just in future, if you've done legs against the wall, try not to get up too quick, because we want everything just to have that time just to relax. Just taking some nice deep breaths here. The body in a neutral position. Observing the energy, observing any subtle changes. Keeping the breath flowing and just allowing the blood and energy just to equalize. And so all day, every day, we are standing up on our feet and we're using our legs to carry us around. Sometimes they get a little bit neglected, so hopefully this just gives it a little bit of release. Keeping the breath deep and flowing, and drawing that breath all the way down past your hips and your glutes into the legs, down through your feet into the tips of the toes. Keeping the tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. Take a few more deep, calming breaths here. And just remember, this is your time, your practice. If you want to relax in Shavasana a little bit longer, please feel free to take that time. Otherwise, if you're ready, you can maybe slowly bring some movement back in. And just doing anything that feels good. You want to stretch out and point and flex the feet, maybe wiggle the toes. Maybe as you point the toes, you really feel that breath going all the way down through the front of your legs. Maybe as you exhale, you push out through the heels, draw the toes back towards you as you feel that opening from your hamstrings, through your backs of your knees, your calves, extending out through the soles of the feet, opening up through the soles of the feet. And maybe hugging the knees in towards the belly, perhaps rocking from side to side. Just mobilizing the spine, or you might just be relaxing in stillness. So whatever feels good for you. And when you're ready, just a gentle twist. And just bring your hand underneath your head to create a pillow for your neck and choose your preferred side. So if you're feeling tired or spacey after our practice or Shavasana, go to your left side just to get your heart rate back to normal. Otherwise, if you're feeling normal or you've got blood pressure and you're feeling quite normal, because we didn't do a very deep relaxing one, we did a very deep muscle, but like physical release here, so that you can roll onto your right. And then when you're ready, keep the body nice and relaxed and gently walk your hands back in, slowly make your way up, keeping the body relaxed. And then just come into whatever is a comfortable seated position for you. And then from here, keeping the sit bones even, lengthen the spine, relax the shoulders. Just take a couple of nice deep breaths here. Just checking in with your body, allowing breath and energy to return to normal. And when you're ready, let's inhale, bring the hands into prayer at the heart to close. Just breathing into the heart center, sealing our practice here. When you're ready, you can leave the eyes open, bowing our heads. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful evening. And I'll see you guys soon.